management is indeed a necessary factor. Now, when you think of time, there's no definition for time in itself, because you just know time exists. We all know time exists. And we know time is important. We know we have to do certain things within time. And that is the importance of it in essence. In the past, people have found different ways to make use of time. As we back in civilization in Africa, we know they use the shadows. Based on the length of the shadows, they'll be able to determine the time of day. So when they go to the field, they can assess and see when the shadows getting shorter or longer, that they would know, have an idea what time of day it is. In present time, we have used man through the establishment and knowledge and inventions have invented clocks and now watches on your hands. You have all kind of fancy watches. You have some watches that can even tell you the time by the press of a button in some voice mode. But all these are just instruments to measure time. But we know the time exists, whether you want to deny it or not, the time exists. Remember these famous words, time waits for no man? It means that even though you decide to ignore time, it will not stop, it goes on. So you would have to pay the price of ignoring it and not managing it. Now we talk about time and we talk about management. Now, to manage, we manage things every day in our daily life. Our whole life is about managing things, ourselves, our family relationships, our friends, our schoolwork, everything is managed. So at all levels. So it could be a level of a CEO, it could be a level of a president or prime minister, and it's at the level of just you growing up at any level or any stage in your life. So now I just wanted to establish the idea of time, which is universal and exists, and the question of management, which all of us do or perform at some point in time. So if you put the two together, managing time basically means to make maximum use of the time which exists and to ensure that whatever task that you want to do is done within the time frame and you get the results that you want to achieve. Management of time is so important. I mean, in our daily lives, sometimes we do it consciously, we do it subconsciously. Sometimes we develop habits of doing certain things within certain time frames, and we do it like every day. There's a connection with time and nature. Very important. We need to recognize that time exists, but it's in tandem with nature. I'm sure maybe your parents, some of our parents, or even probably me, maybe a bit older than you guys would. When you hear cock crow in the mornings, that indicates that it's about early morning, time to wake up. In this time is there, I mean, probably the question of watches or clocks were not too much in use, but the people were able to work in tandem with nature and know when the cock crows in the morning, that probably is the time that you need to get up, shake up. Some people who are coffee drinkers, that was a habit. First thing, drink a little coffee and get on your way, do what you have to do. Or the management of time is in all cultures. I mean, whatever culture you can think of. In our setting in Dominica, in the Caribbean, China, in Africa, wherever. Each of them find mechanisms to manage their time, because if you do not manage your time, you're going to result in chaos and confusion. Because of the time management, people are able to to divide the activities in what we call daytime or nocturnal night activities. So certain activities are planned to capitalize on the sunlight, and some are planned to capitalize when the sun goes down and the light is on at night, or if the moon is out at certain times. So activities are planned based on time. So all that is aspects of managing the time which is exists and which is real. Your presence here, and let me just congratulate all of you. The last check I saw was about 47, maybe more. I'll check again. Your presence here indicate that you're managing your time, because a Sunday, probably on a Sunday, there are certain things that you would do normally, but because you know of this activity, you ensure that whatever you did from the time you wake up to now, you ensure that it was done within time frame to ensure that you are where you are right now. I had my own activities sometimes on a Sunday, so I had to ensure that all what I did within the morning time up to the afternoon was done to ensure that I'm here to present this lecture. So just imagine if I didn't manage my time and you all, everybody's here waiting, it's supposed to start 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock, no appearance, I'm not there. I'm sure I would get a few calls. I got a few calls and not answering my phone. So you can imagine how wasted your time would be. You could have said, well, could I do something else with that particular time and moment? So just your presence there is an indication of managing your time. Now, different people manage time based on their own circumstances. You are going to school, you're at school, you know your schedule of school. You have to know it. You know when you have your classes, and you work within that classes to ensure that you be at your classes on time. You have other extracurricular activities. You ensure that you work within your particular time frame. So that's how you managing your time within the time frame that exists. You have family time, you have friends time, your own personal time. You might be involved in sports, time for that. And very important, sleep time. Sleep time is important because based on the whole physiology of the body needs to get a certain amount of sleep. Lack of sleep impacts on so many issues. So you have to make sure you get enough sleep. Now, for you to get enough sleep, you have to do what you have to do to ensure that you're able to go to bed by a particular time. Now, one issue which we hear, I'm sure some of you must have heard it, you have somebody to get involved in something and they say, oh, I don't have time, because the person feel they're very busy. We hear that expression all the time, I do not have time. But sometimes the people who say they do not have time are people who do nothing at all. I always marvel at some people I see who really are wrong, just lazing around, really not involved in much groups or giving back. And yet they find no time. They say they do not have time. But the time, I just want us to understand that time doesn't belong to us. So when somebody say they do not have time, it's really not like a true statement, because the time don't belong to you. Whether you decide in your mind that you don't have time to get involved in anything, the time will go anyway. It'll be 6 a.m., 6:47 a.m., midday will come, night time will fall, and next day will come. So that's one thing you cannot stop. So that's why this famous slogan, time waits for no man, is so important for us to use as guide. Time waits for no man. The time just rolls on. The earth spins around and everything just falls in line. Now, the speeding of the earth, all that is connected to certain weather patterns. In Dominica, we have what do you call it? We have the dry weather, you have the rainy weather, various seasons. All these things have some connection with time. So your adjustment in time is to, one, understand that the time with sun no man, that time exists, and whatever you do has to be done and be completed satisfactorily within whatever time frame that exists. Some of the points I think it's in terms of is a question of awareness of time. You have to be aware of time all day, because that awareness that helps you to connect. I mean, some of you, I'm sure, are involved in 4-H, you might be involved in other groups, you might be a musician, you have to go and practice. And you might have multiple events in a particular time frame. So how are you going to manage all these multiple events? You go to school, you have 4-H meetings, you have music practice, and so the first thing you have to know your daily schedule. That's the only way you can know how you're going to manage. Before you start to manage anything, you have to know what it involves, and you have to know all the aspects of it. For example, if you're given a job as a manager of an institution, the first thing you would have to do, or even before you get the job, is to find out about the institution, what it involves, what kind of work is done, the employees and times. Some institutions, they work on different shifts. So as a manager, you have to be able to know all these variables so you can know how to plan around. So the awareness of time helps you to plan so you can fit within and achieve your objective. Now, one of the key things in managing time is the question of really prioritizing, because there'll always be a lot, probably more activities than probably you may want to attend and you cannot. So you have to prioritize. You cannot be in exam time. Okay, you're in fifth form and you're in exam time, and there is a show, and you know you haven't covered all your work, but yet you want to go to the show because it might be one of your favorite artists coming from from Jamaica or Barbados, depends on what kind of music you like, and you really want to go to that show, but you know, boy, I have an exam 2 days and I really haven't covered my work. So that's where you have to make a choice. You might choose to go to the activity and end up failing your exam. So you have to decide which one is priority for me. Fail the exam, enjoy the show, and feel good. And at the end of the day, you have to redo the exam. Rather than miss the show, do your exam, and then there'll be many other shows to catch. I always remember when the opportunity came for me to go and study in Cuba, 1981. I was thinking, boy, go Cuba for 6 years. You have Carnival, you have Creole Festival. You start listening, all the things you're going to miss. But then you have to think of, okay, I go Cuba 6 years, looking like plenty before you start. And then and you have to think of, okay, yeah, 6 years will go on, come and gone. And when I come back, I'll have many carnivals and Creole Festival. So we decided, okay, go to Cuba. In fact, once you start school or university, the 6 years looking like, by the time you finish the first year, the rest of the years looking like going so quickly. You don't realize. And I came back and it's like Carnival, Creole Festival, and still, no, they're there. I might decide to go or not to go. But my decision to go or not to go is still my own because of the fact that I came back and I achieved the objective I wanted to achieve. So with that marketing ability, you can decide what you want to do. So it puts you in a better position to even manage other things which would come at certain times. Because you have to manage things all along your life. I mean, you go into school, primary school, secondary, college, university, even when you're working. So the management of time never stops. It's something which pursues you all along your life, all along. Even when we're dead, I mean, things have to be managed. Some people manage it before, some people plan their funerals before. But if it's not planned, then their family, somebody had to take up the slack. So I'm trying to get the point to us that time management is a constant, and it's going to be for us all our lives, all our living lives. So the most you can do to make it manageable is to set up your schedule, prioritize as to what you might like. A simple example, you might like a particular sport, like you like dominoes. Domino is a game when when you sit on a table, you can't go and play one game and run away. So you have to decide, I go and play dominoes at least 2 or 3 hours. And this activities, there are some activities that can be addictive. So you get so addicted to it that you just cannot stop. Whether or not the 3 hours you spend there could affect or impact on something else. It could be on family life. It could be on any aspect. You might have children. All these things impact. So you have to decide, should I, if I play domino 3 days a week, maybe I should cut it down to 2 days. So you still enjoy the dominoes 2 days, but at least you use the other days to cover up on what you have to cover up on. Time management is key because, I mean, you might be part of an organization and, for example, an annual general meeting is on and you're part of the board and you have to be. Because when you're on the part of the board, you plan the meeting. So imagine you plan a meeting, you will chair the meeting and then you come to the meeting and all it. I mean, it may not be your fault. Things come up, internet issues. I mean, sometimes, lights, something happen, a vehicle driving, knock down a pole. A lot of unplanned events are scheduled. But these things are things that we are in your control. But what is within your control is to plan out. Whatever activity you go into, you have to just pass the activity through your mind and make a note of what you need for that activity. Because the activity could start 7 o'clock and you could be there 6:30. You're on time. But when the activity starts, you need a pencil. A simple thing as a pencil. And you forgot the pencil home. And nobody else has an extra pencil. So although you manage your time in terms of being at the activity on time, but you do not factor in the other factors or aspects of the event that you need. So every move you make, you have to know what is needed for that activity. Or you might have one activity running into the other. You might have one activity, for example, an important football game is on and you decide, okay, SMA playing grammar school. I mean, in my time, when SMA playing grammar school, I mean, it's like, that is it, school closed, SMA closed, grammar school closed. And that was the biggest clash in athletics, in football. I mean, it's nothing now I find school activities on and school still have school. We seriously need to review that because if the schools do not go to support the athletes and so, it's going to be difficult for them to move on. And sometimes we place so much focus on academics and books and we forgot that the other essential parts of life, which is so necessary for overall development. That's why I'm happy that with the 4-H, the kind of among the activities that you get involved in is very important because it develops your total being. So get involved, participate, because being in groups help. I mean, people might feel, well, it takes a lot of your time, but at the end of the day, all that is part of your learning, your knowledge, your formation, which equips you for Somebody.
Raj.
Somebody. Sorry. Somebody needs to mute there.
So can you Raj please?
Okay.
I did it from. Mr. Paul, you can do it from your end?
Yes, sir. Mute Mr.
Yes, I'm trying.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, so somebody need to send him a message or something.
Yeah, I'm trying to do it.
He's not aware.
I'm not seeing this.
Maybe somebody sent him a message. Yeah, it's irritating. Okay, it's better now. Yeah, these things happen. I mean, unplanned, but we have to move on. Yeah, so in everything we have to plan. I was talking about the SMA and grammar school. When you're SMA and grammar school sports day, I mean, that's it. No classes. Whole SMA have to go and support SMA. Grammar school have to go and support grammar school. And even some of the other schools would come and check on the game. So all these things have to be managed, and it's very necessary for the support of activities, support of your fellow schoolmates. So getting involved is so important. I mean, for me, I just, it's just part of my nature. Growing up, I was involved in almost, I mean, everything in community. I'm from Maho originally, proud Maho man. Jamaho, they say. And you just involved, it's just part of growing up. You grow everything that exists. You play sports, and yet you go to school, you still do your work, you excel, you go through what you have to do. When I went to Cuba, I was involved I was in the football team for my university, and we used to travel around different provinces. And so imagine Cuba is a big place, so sometimes the time it takes for you to get there. And yet, I mean, most of us were involved, and we still graduated with honors and good grades. So time management is just key to your success, and it follows you in all aspects of your life. So I mentioned about taking care of the important things, the focus on the important things, the family, the health, your hobbies that you like. I mentioned the dominoes as an example. There may be other hobbies, but you have to, in everything, is just a question of balancing. I spoke about the chronic habits, which can impact on the whole management of time. And very importantly, the benefits of managing your time well. You get a great sense of satisfaction as one. Also, it's less stressful on you. You might be involved in 3-4 different groups at the same time, and you manage it well. You can imagine you have different activities, different deadlines around close to each other, and you know, it's just confusion. So you could imagine what that impacted on your own personal self. Just adding more stress to you. So I just really want to leave some words. I really want to do just put the time management within a framework, so you can see that the role that you have to play in managing time, because it's the one policy which helps me along is I always tell myself that a day will always have 24 hours until some smart scientists come along and change it and say, well, yeah, we can get 40 hours out of a day, and everybody in the world can enjoy these 40 hours. But for now, It's 24 hours. That's what you have. That's how it's programmed. That's the reality. And the reality is key. You always have to face the reality of circumstance. Somebody was giving me a joke. They telling me the word if. The word if. That is why probably God made it so small. Because that's one word that you use a million times. Because there'll always be a moment in life where you will say, if I knew better, if I'd done this or that, I would have. But that's in retrospect. So with proper management, you can probably reduce. It will always come, but at least you can reduce the use of it or reduce the negative effects of not doing what you have to do. Okay. Yep. So in a sense, that is what I really wanted to focus on, really, just to link time with nature, time on limitless nature of time. It will be there for us. The question of managing time. Subconsciously, you manage time, maybe you don't realize there's some which you have to do consciously. And the reality is key. Face the reality. If you involve, you involve. You're in for it, you have to go to music, you have to go to sports. That is your schedule for the time. So you manage your time within the activities that exist. When you move to another stage, some new activities might come through. You might get involved in church activities. You might be a musician playing in the church. That involves some sort of discipline where you have to go. You might want to skip 1 or 2 Sundays, but the reality is you cannot skip because you're part of the church band and you have to be there every Sunday unless it's something that then you really cannot make it. So everyone, what I would like is for every one of you to look at your own reality and to map out your involvement, look at what you're involved in, and maybe take some time and review and see if you're successful at managing it. If at the end of the day or the week you feel you can go through the activities and at the week you can feel relaxed, because very important, recreation is important. You can't be any machine that's working on and on and on, and at some point in time you can break down. So you have to find time for relaxation. You have to devise your own methods and plan your time within that. I know some of at that age in my youth time, your age, we didn't have these video games. We found other things to do. Now we have video games, and these things can eat up from your time too. So all these things. So you see at different phases in life, different aspects come up which you have to manage. So just be aware of it, and time management is going to be with you for the rest of your life. So yeah, I think these are the aspects that I wanted to cover. So I'm not sure, Mr. Paul, how much time we have. We thought of probably a little 10 minutes at some point for some comments or questions or comments, because really this is an interaction. It's not like me giving you a lecture. Some of you, I'm sure, must be managing your time very well. And I'm hoping that some other aspects I brought in may have gotten you to rethink and even manage it even better. Some of you who are not, maybe could use some of the discussion here to even make what you're doing better. So just consider this forum as an exchange. I would call it a little conversation, a little powwow between us, and I would appreciate if somebody just maybe make a comment or ask a question or an example that could help all of us, because knowledge is ever continuous process, and they say never too old to learn. So somebody might make a comment that I myself can benefit and learn from. So Mr. Paul, thank you. And I just want to encourage the 4-H Club. I was fortunate to be at the award ceremony in Jungle Bay, and I really need to. I extended it to Mr. Paul. I really need to commend the organizers and the students. I mean, that activity was undertaken at a serious level. So you need to commend yourself. And one thing in closing, I would like for us to encourage each other and support each other and congratulate people when they have done well. Find some way to encourage them to keep it up. And those who are not doing too well, do not abandon them. You always, look out for each other, look out for the ones who are struggling. There were some guys in my class, in my time at SMA who were, like real rebels, like troublesome guys. They were not getting good grades, not because they were not able to, but it was could be just guidance, lack of guidance. Went through school, probably didn't graduate, maybe with top points. But some of these guys now in their life are holding down jobs, have gone into careers that is very enviable. So you must never give up on anybody. Just that different people have different circumstances that you may not know unless you engage the person. You might see the person coming to school, but the person may not have breakfast, may not have lunch. I'll just give a quick joke. When I was going to SMA, you're coming from country and the pressure you're under. Coming from country, coming into Roseau, and so when you come, you have to recess time. Everybody, there were people selling recess, but members from them, you come with a little thing. But what we used to do, we still like in your paper bag, you might have probably a dry bread that way you can afford. So we used to get a little oil. You take the oil and you pass it on the paper bag. So the thinking was that anybody with recess in a paper bag of oil means that you have good recess. And it elevates your, see how a simple thing like that. And in the perception, it elevates your status because the fact that you have oil means that you maybe have a codfish and something or smoking. So we developed the method of just passing a little oil on the outside of the envelope, but inside is your dry bread and there and go in a corner and eat it. So it just shows how little things and perceptions can impact you in all ways. So it's my pleasure to really share these thoughts, and I really enjoy it, as I hope as much as you would have done. So, Mr. Paul, over to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Damien Dublin, for your contribution to the St. Mary's Academy 4-H Club International. At this time, we'll ask the president, Mr. Dante Augustine, to give the vote of thanks.
Good night to all. Good night to all. Mr. Dublin, I do thank you on behalf of everybody, the 4-H Club International, the students, and the staff, that you did a very good job. I personally learned a lot of time management, so this really helped me as I in fifth form. So I thank you very much, and I hope this will pass along to the students. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
In other announcement, this evening we have Form 5 parents meeting at 8:15 to 9 o'clock. So Form 5 boys, please remind your parents of the Form level meeting at 8:15 tonight. And the 4-Hers, you are reminded of the Rising of the Sun hike from Freshwater Lake to Grand Fort at the end of the month. Thank you very much. Do have a wonderful evening, and may God continue to bless you all. Attendance will be taken by Joseph.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Okay, good night, folks. Have a productive week.
Same to you, sir.
Okay.
Same to you.
All the best. All right.
Thank you, and same to you, sir.
Take care. All right.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Is Jaden in? Is Malik in? I realize some of you are playing game and you all are not in. Is Dean Badwill in?
You just playing game now.
I know. I watching what's going on. You know, Marek, are you there? Huh? Are you all there? Sage, are you there? Nation, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
You,
sir.
Crash, are you here?
So I'm here.
Okay, so Sage, you may leave. Adrian
So
Piper, you may leave. Joshua Anthony, you may leave. Kieran Frederick, you may leave. Riley. Jaden Henderson. Jaden?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you're there. Dean, are you there? Dean Badwill.
Yes, sir.
Oh, you're there. So you may leave. Mr. Luke, you may leave. Zamik Smith, you may leave. Tell Gina Paul good night. Alexander, you may leave. Ivron Henderson, you may leave. Okay, I'm just taking note. Taking note. Adriel Savre, you may leave. Eli, Alexander Eli, are you there? How are you, Alexander Eli? Alexander? Aline?
Yes, sir. I did.
Okay. Marek Matthew?
Yes, sir. I did.
Okay, nice. Malik Henry? Baron?
Yes, I do. Later.
Okay, tell mommy good night. Yuvrash, are you there, Yuvrash?
My phone was sticking.
Okay, Stefan Nation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Yuvrash is not in as yet. What about Jordan Johnson?
Yes,
Peter
sir.
Joseph Peter?
Yes, sir.
Baron? Okay. Everybody, have a nice night. You may leave. See you soon.
Later, sir.
Mighty is our God.